podcast studio felt cozy that afternoon, but there was a subtle buzz of anticipation in the air. Jungkook sat on the soft couch, still a little nervous despite having done interviews before. Across from him, Chris Martin, the laid-back and witty Coldplay frontman, gave him a warm smile, eyes full of curiosity. The mic was live, and the recording had started. Chris began with a casual tone. "Jungkook, man, it's really great to finally chat with you. I know you're super busy, but I've got to ask, what are your thoughts on the future? Not just your career, but, marriage and all that." Jungkook smiled lightly, dodging the topic a bit. "Ah, Chris, you always go for the personal stuff. I'm not really comfortable talking about that on camera." Chris chuckled. "Relax, this is just a normal chat. I get that you want to keep your privacy, but fans are curious. They want to know what your plans are. You're at an age where a lot of people start thinking about those things, right?" Jungkook sighed softly, his gaze drifting away for a moment before coming back to the camera. "Yeah, I know. But for me, right now, I'm focused on music and work. About marriage, I'm not sure when the time will be. I'd rather just enjoy what's happening." Chris nodded slowly but kept his eyes fixed on him. "Okay, but imagine if you had the right person. What then? Are you the type who wants to get married soon? Or just take it easy?" Jungkook rubbed his face slightly, his smile fading. "Honestly, I don't want to be pushed into something. Sometimes it feels like people expect me to answer things I'm not ready for." Chris leaned in a bit. "That's totally normal. But I think a lot of people would respect you just being honest. Saying, 'I'm not ready yet.' That's cool too." Jungkook gave a small, tired smile. "Yeah, I guess I just want my privacy to be respected. I don't want everything to turn into gossip or speculation." Chris laughed. "Man, you're a huge star but so humble. I like that. But seriously, what if I said, if you don't answer, I'm gonna keep asking until you say yes?" Jungkook laughed lightly, the mood easing up. "Chris, don't stress me out." But there was a sharp glint in his eyes, like saying this was really the limit for now. "All right, I get it. We'll skip that for today," Chris said, raising his hands playfully. "But I promise we'll talk about this again sometime, in a more relaxed way." Jungkook nodded, looking more at ease. "Sounds good. But no pushing, okay?" They both laughed and the podcast moved on to lighter topics. Still, deep down, that question kept spinning in Jungkook's mind, filling a space he wasn't ready to share with anyone just yet. The conversation picked up a notch after the lighter topics, but Chris couldn't resist circling back to the one question he knew was hanging in the air. "So, Jungkook, you've been pretty clear about not wanting to dive into the marriage topic right now. But I'm curious, is it just timing? Or is it more complicated? Because everyone seems to expect some kind of roadmap from someone in your position." Jungkook shifted in his seat, fingers tapping lightly on his knee. "It's not that simple, honestly. I think people imagine things like it's all planned out, career, marriage, kids, like a checklist. But life doesn't work like that for me. At least not yet." Chris nodded thoughtfully. "Yeah, it's like there's this pressure to have everything figured out, even if you're still figuring yourself out. Do you feel that pressure a lot?"
Everywhere you go.
It's like, people see a young guy who's successful, so they think, oh, he must have it all mapped. But I don't want to give false expectations or disappoint anyone." There was a pause. Then Chris smiled and said, "I get that. It's a tough spot. Being in the spotlight but still trying to keep things real. Have you ever thought about what kind of marriage you'd want? Like, what would make it right for you?" Jungkook laughed softly. "Honestly, I think about freedom a lot. I want to be with someone who understands my life, not someone who's tied down by it. But that's easier said than done." "That's fair," Chris said, leaning back. "Relationships are complicated enough without the added pressure of fame and expectations." Jungkook's eyes lit up a little as he added, "Yeah, and sometimes it feels like people just want me to pick a box, married or single. When the truth is, I'm still figuring out what makes me happy." Chris laughed. "You're keeping it real, and I respect that. So what's the one thing you want people to know about your future?" Jungkook paused for a moment, then smiled. "That I'm doing my best to be happy, not just to meet other people's expectations." Chris grinned. Now that's a solid answer. No pressure, just being true to yourself. I think a lot of people could learn from that. The podcast continued, laughter and honest moments weaving through the rest of the conversation. But beneath it all, Jungkook's words lingered. A quiet reminder that the future doesn't always come with easy answers. Chris leaned forward, eyes twinkling with mischief as he said, "You know, Jungkook, all this talking about marriage and the future. Do you ever get tired of dodging questions like that? Like, when you're out with friends or at events, do people always want to grill you about your personal life?" Jungkook chuckled, running a hand through his hair. "Oh, definitely. It's like there's this spotlight that follows me everywhere, and everyone's waiting for me to say the right thing. Sometimes it feels exhausting." Chris nodded knowingly. "I get that. Being in the public, I can be a blessing and a curse. But don't you think sometimes it's worth it to open up a bit? Like maybe surprise your fans by sharing something real and honest?" Jungkook glanced at Chris, his smile a little shy but genuine. "I've thought about it, sure. But I worry that once I say something, it becomes this big headline, and then it's no longer mine. It belongs to everyone else." "That's a fair point," Chris said. "But, you know, people also appreciate honesty. Even if it's not the whole story, just a piece of truth can mean a lot." Jungkook nodded slowly. "Yeah, I guess I just have to figure out what I'm comfortable sharing and when." Chris grinned. "Exactly. It's your story, your timing. But hey, if you ever want to try it out, I'm here to help." Jungkook laughed, the tension easing between them. "Thanks, man. Maybe someday." For a moment, the studio fell into a comfortable silence before Chris broke it with a playful, "All right, one last thing. If you were to give advice to your younger self about love and marriage, what would it be?" Jungkook thought for a beat, then smiled softly. "I'd tell myself to be patient, not to rush into anything because of what others expect, to focus on understanding myself first." Chris nodded approvingly. "That's solid advice. Patience is underrated." The mood in the room shifted into a lighter, more reflective space as their conversation drifted away from the tough questions but left a lasting sense of connection. The podcast was winding down, but Chris wasn't quite ready to let go of the topic that had clearly stirred something in Jungkook. "Before we wrap up, one last question. If you had to imagine your life 10 years from now, what do you see? Not just the career stuff, but the personal side, your family, your happiness, your peace." Jungkook took a deep breath, eyes steady on Chris. "Honestly, I don't have a clear picture. Sometimes I think about it, and it feels both exciting and scary. I hope I'm surrounded by people who understand me, who accept me for who I am. I want to be happy, really happy, not just successful." Chris smiled warmly. "That's beautiful, man. It's easy to forget that behind all the fame and lights, there's just a person wanting the same simple things as anyone else." Jungkook nodded, a small laugh escaping him. "Exactly. I think sometimes people forget that. It's like they expect me to be some perfect version of myself, but I'm still figuring things out, just like everyone else." Chris leaned back, satisfied. "You've been real and honest today. I think that's what makes this conversation so good. No fake answers, just you." Jungkook looked relaxed now, the weight of the questions lifted, even if only a little. "Thanks, Chris. I appreciate that." Chris stood up and stretched. "All right, that's a wrap. Thanks for sharing, man. We'll definitely do this again. Maybe next time without me pushing too hard about marriage." Jungkook laughed. "Sounds like a plan." As the mics powered down and the lights dimmed, both knew this wasn't just a podcast episode. It was a real moment of connection. A glimpse into a side of Jungkook few ever saw. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough for now. After the studio lights dimmed and the microphones were turned off, the atmosphere shifted from tense curiosity to a warm, meaningful calm. Jungkook and Chris sat back, sharing quiet laughs as they reflected on the conversation they had just shared. Although some questions had been challenging, Jungkook felt a sense of relief in revealing a side of himself that few had seen before. The talk wasn't just about the future or marriage. It was about living honestly and without pressure. Chris's relaxed and understanding approach made the moment feel real, not just another interview. For Jungkook, It was a reminder that it's okay not to have all the answers yet, and that true happiness comes not from meeting others' expectations but from finding peace within. They parted with genuine smiles, knowing that sometimes the most important thing is having the courage to be honest with yourself amid the noise of the world. After the studio lights dimmed and the microphones were turned off, the atmosphere shifted from tense curiosity to a warm, meaningful calm.